This episode of The Inspiration Show is super special because Dillon Klena is joining me. Dillon has had such a special impact on my life and my theater journey. Dillon is an incredibly talented actor, singer, and songwriter. He has been a part of many productions, but is currently portraying the role of Nick Healy in the North American tour of Jagged Little Pill. Thank you so much, Dillon, for joining me. It's such an honor to have you here.
For having me. I'm so happy to be here. It's so fun.
So you knew that you were destined for theater and the stage since the age of 3. So can you share a little bit about finding your love for theater at such a young age and how you knew that theater was what you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, so when my siblings, I have two older siblings. I have my sister Lauren, who's 5 years older than me, and my brother Derek, who I'm pretty sure most people know who that is. But he's 7 years older than me. And so when they started theater, my mom was pregnant with me. So I kind of was thrown into it at a very young age. I did my first show when I was 3. And it was either Grease, and I was a trash can boy that jumps out and dances during Grease Lightning, or it was Big River, and I was a little straw hat boy. That's what they called him, and I wore like a little straw hat and ran around. Those are like the first two shows that I did. So we're not sure which one came first, but those are the first two shows that I did. And I mean, I was a goofball when I was a child. So like my parents, they wanted me to be in theater. And I remember when I was little, like um every show that I would do, I would always be the one that was the most rambunctious, the one who was the most talkative. I would tend to get in trouble just because of how I was so extroverted for my age. And because of
Me
having,
too.
because of having older siblings, I think that also you know, inhibited or exhibited that out of me. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, being in theater as a kid, you don't really remember a lot of that stuff, but I remember always, my parents were very good about really enriching our lives with as much theater as possible. Like every weekend, we were going to see a show, probably more than one, probably more than two. Hi, mom. She loved taking us to shows as kids. And so I feel like that's just kind of how it stuck, and just being a part of really good children's groups in Southern California, and being surrounded by, other kids who also were doing it, and, finding my family through that, and as well, and kind of, learning that theater is very community based. I feel like that also is what draw me to it at such a young age, and want me and one of the reasons why I kept pursuing it. Um, yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
theater is so special, and especially from like a young age. Like I started when I was really young too, and everyone always complains that I talk really loud, and my response is always, "I'm a theater kid. That's my job." And I
I
mean,
know.
it's good because like, it helps you with your voice projection, you need that Broadway projection, but, like, that sense of community and, like, theater, having that since you were really young is really special, and, like, I was always that kid who always begged my parents to go see shows, and they were always, like, so supportive of that. I always said that, like, I was the easiest kid, like, "You buy me tickets to go see a show, and, like, I will love you forever." I mean, seeing shows it's so special.
It is, and there's nothing quite like this art form either, and so, like, I mean, before the pandemic, I honestly there wasn't a year that I didn't do a show or didn't do, like, a couple, and
Yeah,
I feel like and it's such a specific thing, and it's so specific for a certain group of, like, certain type of individual, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And
definitely.
also oh, sorry, what were you gonna
No,
say?
you're so
Oh.
right, yeah.
I mean, and thinking like, and also having two older siblings, I feel like did help me as well, because they were, since they were so much older than me, they were getting cast as roles and stuff. And so seeing my brother and my sister kind of like learn and prepare for these roles as a young kid, that kind of was like my first, you know, um level of inspiration, was just seeing my brother and sister kind of just, do these roles in just these little children's theater productions. But you never know, like, what is really going to impact you and make you want to keep pursuing something.
Definitely. And I just want to touch on, what you said about, doing a show every year and then kind of when COVID hit. Like that's actually the reason why I started the show because like I needed something to do during COVID because like the stage was my sanctuary and when my medium, like the stage wasn't there anymore. Like, you had to reinvent something. And, when I finally got to be back on the stage again, especially as like an art student, now like a theater major in high school, like not having the stage was so hard.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I graduated from college in 2020.
Yeah.
So like I totally get the whole, the culture shock of not having what you love to do there present, going being a part of a production or or many productions every single year for basically your whole life, and then all of a sudden putting on the brakes and being like, whoa, what do I do now? Like, what if theater never comes back? Like, what do we do? And so like, I mean, I'm super grateful for the pandemic. There were so many things that I wish like changed and I wish were better, but like at the same time, like I really used that time to really discover, why I love to do theater and why I think theater is important and why I think I loved to do it as a kid and growing up. And like it really did put life on the brakes, but at the same time, it reignited the flame in some way of
Oh, yeah.
why I love to do it.
Yeah,
It's
no, without COVID, I don't think I would be where I am today. And I don't think I'd be the actor that I am today because I really took that time, to work on myself and kind of look at past productions. And this is going to sound so stupid, but like picking up my highlighter again to highlight my lines after my first show after quarantine was the best feeling in the world. It was
Oh
so,
yeah. Oh yeah. There was the and just having that newfound love for it. And yeah, I cherish theater and the arts so much more now, just because like you never know what you have until it's gone. And so like realizing like from doing it as a child and growing up in theater, and then like not having it, it just totally is it was, changed everything for me, I feel like.
oh,
But in so many good ways and also bad ways. But I mean,
yep.
comes with a cost. Everything comes with a cost.
Yeah, you gotta take the good with the bad.
Of course.
So fast forward to now, you hold a BFA in musical theater from California State University Fullerton. So although you've been acting and performing from such a very young age, how do you feel that this program kind of helped shape you into the actor that you are today?
Going to so Cal State University Fullerton, when I went there, was a cut program. So that was also kind of crazy because you would go, um, your freshman and sophomore year, you're with about 40 to 50 students that are all going for musical theater. There's no audition or anything. So all these kids are just in the program. And you go through all these series of classes. You go through dance classes. We were taking tap, ballet, and jazz for like, I took that all throughout college. But you basically these are called like trial classes. So you like get a little bit of everything. You get your acting classes, you get your singing classes, you get your costume class, you get your makeup class. And so it's kind of just to feel around and see where you are. And so for 2 years you kind of do this program, and you take these things called juries, which were basically auditions, and it would kind of just test where you are in accordance to the entire class. And then once you hit the end of sophomore year, you audition into the program, and they accept like 12 people out of that 40 to 50 kids. And so it was kind of, I would say, pretty cutthroat for most of those 2 years of just like, and that's the whole thing. Like, that's what I feel like helped me the most, is it creates a backbone for you that I feel like is very essential in theater. Like, although like it's hard to, you're in a profession where you're constantly told no, and you're constantly told that you have to like, that you have to change stuff or be better or like all that stuff. And like there is truth to that. And I feel like when you're not, I feel like with me, I take those times when I'm told no, and I really learn from those. And I feel like that's the moment where you either learn from that or it tears you down and you never want to do it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of schooling and because of the teachers that I was around, or the teaching that I was around, I I learned that having a backbone and having a strong backbone can keep you in the industry, because we all know that like no is a part of the business, and like hearing no is part of the business, but that can really tear people apart. And so like that helped me. And certain teachers, like I remember when making the BFA, my junior year of college, we had this teacher, and she was very strict, and it was my acting class, and it was the most beneficial, I think, experience I've ever been through, because she made us really work for everything. And if we got something wrong, she would get, strict with us. But then at the same time, it would help us kind of propel us forward and kind of build that backbone and build that, because there's so many, you're going to be working with so many different directors in your lifetime. Like, you work with so many different people, and you put trust into these people to kind of teach you what to do, or like direct you. And so you're going to be seeing all different walks of life, and there are going to be some people that you don't really connect with, and you don't really, understand or see eye to eye with, but that's all a part of it. And so seeing her and how she led the class, and how every scene that we did, how she broke it apart, and then if we did something ineffective, she would make us do it again and think about something else. And because of the way she did those things, I feel like it really benefited me in my acting ability. And also just like living life too. Like, I'm 25 now, and and we were told this in college, that like life experience is everything. Like, and so when it comes to acting, it's very important to, reach back into your past or your life, and really feel like, really think about how a certain emotion may have lived through that in previous times in your life, so like it's great to connect specific things in your life to certain material. I've also learned that, I was also told this, that other people's success leaves another opportunity for you. So and that keeps me humble, and that keeps me not feeling like I'm missing out on something or an opportunity, because, like, we're all in this together. Everyone is, everyone who's in the community, we're all a team. We all want to succeed, and we all want to see each other succeed. And so when someone books something, it's a great, you know, it's a great thing, because, out of all those people who get seen, like, that one person is now doing something. So now that leaves an opportunity for you to do something, and for you to get to propel forward. And so, like, I've always thought about that, and that's always kept me, that's always kept that envious part of me kind of, gone. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for um, that expertise, because I feel like in my life that has helped me a lot as well.
Completely. And I just have to say I love the way they kinda do that backbone of the program where they train you guys, and then they have you audition, so it's kinda not like a, one-time audition where you walk in with the experience that you already have, and then it's either that rejection or acceptance. I
Oh
really
yeah.
liked how, they had those programs for you so you could kinda learn from the teachers at the school, and then even if you don't make it into the program, that will help you learn and grow as an actor, because everything you learn from every director, producer, or even other actors that you work with, they'll teach you so much, and that'll change you as an actor and as a person. So I think it's really special the way that that was done.
And also, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, school is amazing, and I feel like everyone should at some point go get their degree in some sort of, anything. But I feel like another big, learning lesson is just from doing it,
Yeah,
It's just from, the more you do, the more you know, and the more you learn. Like, I mean, because of my upbringing and doing so many shows and stuff, I've learned how different, directors work, and how, the industry works. And I feel like that all helps you move forward. So if you don't go to school, and there's other ways to get where you want to go, even if you don't get the degree, you know what I mean? And but the
definitely.
degree is still amazing. Like, it's still great to have one, but it's not the end all be all if you want to be in this industry.
That's the really special thing about this industry, and I kinda talk about this a lot on the show because it made me realize this so much as an actor, is when you go see a show and, you see a cast member take a bow at curtain call, you don't know what training went into them as an actor. You don't really get to see them as a person and kinda talk about their journey and how they got to where they are today, and it's just special to kinda get to hear that from people that you see on stage.
Oh yeah. No, totally. And even now in today's society with like TikTok and everything, there's now an even bigger outlet for people to kind of, make a name for themselves and, kind of grow. And so it's very interesting being in my generation, especially where we were the ones that kind of, I don't know, I was in middle school when like all of the social medias came out. So like that was like the main core audience for those things. And so watching how it's developed and how like just like anyone can kind of, produce good art in some aspect. That's all of the tools that you need are right there, and
Yeah.
because it's so accessible, I mean, more people are, using the creative side. I mean, we watch TikTok all the time and see people do creative things. And like, I don't know, I don't really remember like, I mean, Vine, I mean, like what, there was nothing like in the
Yeah.
day that did that, and so because of that, I feel like we're moving towards um more artistic visions, if that makes sense. Like I feel like, yeah, like even in schooling, like arts are kind of becoming important. And like and that's the thing. Like for a long time, sports are like art's the first to go, if like a school
Oh,
needs,
definitely.
yeah. But like now we're seeing through that entertainment is needed, especially with all these strikes that have been going on and like everything in our community. It's very, and like people are seeing that the arts are important, and especially because of the pandemic too, like not being like, I don't know, like the common viewer of all these TV shows that were just no longer there, like how do you like, it's the appreciation of art on all sides, I feel like.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
where that
so
came from,
no, it's so special, and you gotta support the arts. You have
of
to.
course, of course, of
So
course.
so who would you say your biggest inspiration has been throughout your career?
I would have to honestly, I would say that my brother Derek
Oh,
is my, yeah, I mean, honestly,
love
it's true.
Derek.
I reflect on this pretty often because like, especially doing Jagged and stuff and seeing, I mean, my brother moved to New York when I was in 8th grade. So seeing his journey on Broadway and off Broadway and watching how he's navigated through his career in the past like 10 years has been really awesome to, watch and witness, and to see him now with a Tony nom and like doing Moulin Rouge and like
Yeah.
stuff like, and just watching him now as a dad too, because he's now a dad, and just like it's just crazy. It's crazy how time flies, and he's been such a in everything that he does, he's always the kindest person, and he's very driven, and he's always just so present in every part that he plays. And his voice, my brother's voice is so good. Like, come on. Like I saw him do Moulin Rouge, and I swear I've never heard him sing like that.
Yeah, no,
I
I
was
mean,
like fanboying.
the
I was like, Derek,
medley yeah, the medley gets me every time. The performance
dude,
that he did on the Thanksgiving Day parade, I don't remember what year it was. It was so good.
come on.
But
Come
we also
on.
have to talk about your song. I mean, we're gonna get into that later, but your song is so good. The vocals on that, you killed it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
shout out Derek. We love Derek. And I just think we'll get into it also later, but I just think your story is so cool as how, Derek originated the role and now you're doing it across North America. I think it's must be like the most special thing for you guys.
Oh,
That's cool.
it's wild. It is a wild experience, and we'll get into that.
We'll get into that, but it was so funny. I just have to say I saw this girl on TikTok who was like she went to go see you in Jagged and she opened the playbill and she's like, "Wait, Klena?" And she's like, "No one told me Derek Klena had a little brother." And I was like, "Yeah, he's so awesome." Love Dylan.
Yeah, no, it's no, doing the show, and then the people that come and do stage door when we can, because I mean, our show is in the, we're like, we're technically still like in the pandemic when we
Yeah.
opened, and then like watching the transition out of the pandemic and like seeing, theaters allow stage dooring and like all that stuff, and then how that kind of came back into play. I mean, I'm very appreciative for people. I mean, for people who come and do stage dooring, because they don't have to stand there. And sometimes they're standing there for so long and they just want to say hi. I feel like it's so important because like they're sitting there for 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes of the show that's like pulls your guts out, man. And
Yeah,
and
it
and they're
does.
crying and they're
Getting
like
confirmed.
losing it. And all, I mean, honestly, it takes literally 2 seconds to like say hi and talk to them, because like you never know what they're going through. And also with this show and how it's promoted, and we don't really talk about the show very much and what it's really about. um and so when people come see the show, they're mostly blindsided by what the show has to offer. So when they come see us, they the people are just very, touched, and like have these stories of like, I didn't know that the show was about this, and now that I've seen it, like I can connect it so much to my life and what I've been through. And like they want that, and they want to talk to you about that. And so I feel like it's very important, especially, since it is a community, that we, connect all parts of the community together. And so yeah, there was a moment, I remember we were in Providence, Rhode Island. Providence? No, it was Baltimore, Maryland, and it was like raining outside, like pouring rain. Okay. And all the cast is just like staying inside, and we're waiting for our Uber to take us back to the hotel. And it's just pouring rain, man, like pouring outside. And then the Ubers come, and we go outside, and there, I kid you not, are like 20 people waiting for us with umbrellas, waiting for us to sign their playbills. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what? And so some of our castmates didn't want to wait, but I was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and I want to talk to them, because like they don't have to stand in the rain. They
Right.
could have gone home. They're waiting for us to talk to us and to see us, and like it's, I mean, what do we have to lose?
And
Like we're so,
it's so
and
special.
especially like doing what we're doing, like we're so privileged to get to do that work, and to get to, be working in that field. And so like that's the least we can do. I feel like we can do more, but like that's the least we can do, is stop for them and talk to them, and you know make them feel a part of it. And that's important to me.
I
Yeah.
mean, also be somebody that makes everybody feel like a somebody, right? I mean, we're
Yeah,
gonna
it
get into
all
that
it
later.
all kind of
Yeah.
goes into hand in hand. Like that's
Yeah.
a huge, I mean, that's like, it's be somebody that brings people together. And I've always tried to be that way, and I've always tried to stay positive in that way. And sometimes on tour, it's not always the most positive times. Like you go through a lot on tour, and
You
some
too.
days are just awful, and some days are just horrible, but there's always that silver lining, and there's always going to the theater and doing what you love to do. And there's always the people that love the show. And so those are the things that like you got to hold on to. And you're seeing all these cool places, and you're saving a lot of money, so that's also good. But it's all about, like, I don't know, it's all about, and especially our show, I feel like the show works because it's connecting every piece of the puzzle. And like there are so many things we talk about in the show, but everybody, at least any person in the audience, can connect to one thing. Like at least one thing is they can connect to. So I feel like it's a whole experience. And so the more you bridge the gap between artist and audience, I feel like their possibilities are endless. That's why I love like theater that's so what's it called? Oh my gosh. It's like a type of devised
Yes,
theater.
device theater.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Or just like, theater in the round, or like theater that just like is very
Yeah, I did a Midsummer Night's Dream in the round. That was interesting.
there's something about doing shows in like the round, or like in a thrust space, that
Mhm.
like is that brings the audience closer in. And so I wish more shows, because what did I see? I saw Oklahoma, the new Oklahoma
Oh,
revival,
yes.
but I saw it when it was at the Circle in the Square. I think that's where it was.
Yes, yes, yeah, yep.
So I saw it there, and they were
That's
just
an
hanging
incredible
out.
theater.
They were just hanging out with the audience. Like they were playing the instruments, just chilling. And
Mhm.
like it was just so cool to see that connection, and
Yeah.
to really bring the people into this world and let them be a part of it as much as you can. Like,
Oh, it's so
cool.
special. I can just go on and
Fun.
on about theater,
I
but
know, what the heck.
amazing. So you have been a part of national tour productions and many regional theater productions, but looking back on every show you've been in and every role you've ever played, is there any specific show, role, or memory that stands out to you? And I also wanted to let you know I'll be reaching out to your mom for those little videos of little Dill as Troy Bolton, please and thanks.
Oh, you don't have to reach out. They're on YouTube ready to go.
Oh, okay.
They're on there. You can type in my name and it'll pop up. I swear it'll pop up. But yeah, there is video footage of me when I was Troy Bolton. Yes.
Oh, I'm
It's
obsessed.
all waiting for you to
Thank
peruse.
you. Any specific show that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple ones that are like really important to me. I did when I was a sophomore in high school, I played Shrek in Shrek.
Yes.
And it was really enlightening for me. I really or sophomore in high school. I was sophomore in high school. I don't know if I said college or high school, but I was sophomore in high school and it was my first like really big acting heavy becoming someone else type of role that I've never really dived into, and like Shrek is like nothing like me, and I felt so connected to it as an actor, and it really sparked a side of me into going more into like character roles and stuff. I remember when I was younger I saw Bradley Cooper in Elephant Man on Broadway.
No, you did not.
I did, dude. I did. And it was so good. Dude, Bradley Cooper, come on. And like, and
Incredible.
like when Bradley Cooper was like heartthrobby man. And so he was also going through like that whole like breaking into the actor scene and he wanted to be an actor. And so, and like a really good actor. And like, honestly, that was a huge inspiration for my like,
Mhm.
my creative character side,
Yeah.
because just seeing someone delve into a role like that, and that's another part of acting that I love is like the psyche of everybody, all the characters. I love delving into a person's brain and seeing how it works. I feel like if I wasn't an actor I would have been a psychologist in a heartbeat, because I just love the way the brain works, and I love things. I love I like figuring out what makes characters tick and like what's their
I
like.
do that. That's my favorite thing too.
Yeah, it's so cool. And so like delving into characters like Shrek who just are like miserable and have like these issues and then
Yeah.
they overcome them. Like it was just such a great experience with the prosthetic and all that stuff. That's
You
a
had a
huge.
prosthetic?
Oh, it was like the whole regalia. It was the
Oh, so
whole like.
it wasn't paint. See, wait, sorry, I need a full on let's do this.
Oh,
I'm
if you dig deep in my Instagram, you'll probably find it. There's a video of me singing a little bit, and
permission to
it's
stalk.
like
I love that.
it's not even singing from the show. It's just like a funny video that I made when I was younger, and I posted it, and you'll hear like my brothers singing in the background because he like filmed it. But you'll see, yeah, it was the
I'm
whole
finding,
prosthetic
yeah.
thing. It
That's
was
so
crazy.
cool.
But yeah, it was like the prosthetic head, and then I feel like it was my face, but then like this whole part was also prosthetic. So like I couldn't hear anything. Like it
How
was
did you pick up on your cues?
dude,
That's
there were like little holes on the side of the cowl thing where
oh
that's what I would hear
dang.
from. But yeah, like barely. Barely.
Oi.
Yeah, but that was such a cool experience, such a fun experience, and I loved that. Another two other specific shows that I have done so many times, but I just like keep coming back because I love them so much. I love playing Melchior Gabor. I played Melchior Gabor in Spring Awakening
I was gonna
a
make
lot.
you talk about it if you didn't bring it up
Oh my
because it's
gosh.
so good.
I love Spring Awakening. And the first time I did that, I was also a junior in high school. Yeah, I was a
That's
junior in
fun.
high school the first time I did that. And I mean, yeah, it it was crazy because there's like that whole scene that happens, but
Yeah.
like I mean, we were in high school, so we didn't do anything crazy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we did like poses, but at the same time, like it really taught me about like how about contemporary theater, and it was like my first kind of like experience in like a dark show like that, and
Yeah.
like really taking that on and understanding parts of the show and just parts about life and about being a male and a white male as well, and just like understanding like some of the bad stuff that people do, and just and yeah, and that show has always been a huge part of my my life and my um I think a part of the person I am today is credited to that. But also my last one, my favorite, is Newsies. I love Newsies.
You did it twice, yeah?
Three times. I've done Newsies three times.
Oh, three.
I love Newsies with all my heart. The first time I played Jack Kelly in 2018. That was the first time I played Jack, was at Moonlight Amphitheater.
I need your
And
Santa Fe now.
there's a couple
Okay.
out there, I think,
Okay.
somewhere. But yeah, it was I don't know, there's something about that character and something about where I just felt completely free. And like it was the first time as an actor and as a performer where I felt like um I can bring as much of myself to the character. And and I feel like that's also like the shows and the roles that are so important are the shows that and the roles that you can just like you are yourself, you're an extension of yourself.
Yeah.
And Jack, I feel that way completely. And because I'm honestly like a goofball, like I'm such a child in like a man's body. and like I really love delving into the naivete of certain things. And so like I love playing Jack. And that was actually like my first role coming back after the pandemic too, was playing Jack, because I my whole story with Jack Kelly is kind of interesting. I auditioned for this one show, and it was a summer of 2018. And then this director guy, do you know 3D theatricals? Do you know what that
I've
is?
heard of it, yeah.
So the main guy who runs that, he came to see that show
Mhm.
at Moonlight. And I was like, okay, he's definitely going to do this show at some point. And I was like, I have to play Jack there. I have to play Jack at 3D theatricals. And so then I was like, from then on, I have to play Jack a couple more times. So then I played Jack Kelly at Moonlight. And then the following year after that, in 2019, I did like a small like tour of Newsies. It was
Oh,
like more of like a California tour, but like we went to 3 places, and it was my whole summer of
fun?
2019. 2019? 2019.
No, not 29.
It was 2019.
It
It
was?
was, yes. I did it 2019. And then that following March, I auditioned for 3D Theatricals Newsies, and I booked Jack. And then the
Yes.
pandemic happened.
Oh no. I was like, yes.
So the goal has been achieved. The goal was achieved. I booked it at 3D Theatricals, and then the pandemic hit. And then that show was kind of just up in the air. But we were always told that it was going to happen. So I kept holding on to that. I kept holding on to that. And then come 2021, 2022, actually.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah, it was last year. Last
Yeah,
year, like before Jagged, right before Jagged.
that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, so and that was like my first main show back. I did like a show called Story of My Life. And it was this is actually the first. Actually, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. So I did this show called Story of My Life. I talk a lot too. So if you need to
No,
like,
I love it. No, no, please.
I'm such a talker, and
Me
my
too.
ADD will jump everywhere.
No, I love it. Like my least favorite thing as an interviewer is when you come on and you work so hard to make all these questions and they give you one sentence answers. So please, no, I've looked up to you my whole life. So please.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
Okay. So there was this show that I did called Story of My Life, and it was on Broadway for like 0.25 seconds.
Yeah,
It
I was
got
gonna say that sounds familiar, but it's not clicking.
Yeah, it was Will Chase was in it. And it was a two male musical. And yeah, it's about friends that, you watch their whole journey of friendship from age 14 to like 30s.
So it's like
And
Marilyn.
yeah, kind of. I've never seen Merrily, to be
I've never
honest.
seen it either, but I just know the story.
I know parts of the story. I've told people, because everyone's like, you know Merrily, right, Dylan? And I'm like, I really don't. And they're like, they start telling me, and I'm like, no, don't tell me, because I like want to see it.
I know, I want to see it. Okay, wait, we should go see it.
Okay, I want to
Okay.
see it without knowing what goes on,
Yeah. I
because
love
I've
when
heard
you walk
so
into a
many
musical
mixed
blind.
reviews. I've heard so many things, and I just want to make my own opinion
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it is kind of like that. But I got to kind of play a 14-year-old boy, and then also like an older man, and that was really cool. But it was like a hybrid production. So we filmed it with
Oh,
no audience, and it was like filmed like a sitcom basically.
That's so
There was
cool.
like 3 cameras, and then we like filmed the show like 4 different times, and then from that they like pieced it together, and then it was like this thing for people to view.
I like
And
that.
like, and there was no like background, there was just a green screen. So there was like a green screen behind us, and then there was like props and like set pieces and stuff. But
It
yeah,
was
like the whole background was green. It was so interesting.
That's so cool because it was just you and one other actor, right? At
Me
the
and
time.
one other guy. Yeah. So we just
That's
did the whole, and yeah, and we all of our rehearsals, because it was the pandemic, all of our rehearsals were online.
I
So we
hate
did
online.
everything,
I hate it.
everything through Zoom. And then we had 1 week in the theater to film it, to rehearse it, and to do everything. So we're taking like 2 days out of our tech week process to kind of go through
Everything on the stage.
everything on the stage. And then we just filmed it and just went for it. And it was so exciting. And so and that was like the first show I did back from the pandemic, but that I would call that like a hybrid production. It wasn't like theater, but it was like, is this how theater's gonna be now, like filmed
Yeah,
like this?
we all
Weird.
had that thought. Every single actor had that thought.
It was so strange. But yeah, and then from that I did Mamma Mia at La Mirada. And I was played Eddie. He's the one who does the, I don't know if you've seen Mamma Mia, the
Yeah,
bagpipes boy.
of course.
I'm
Yeah.
the bagpipes boy. So so I did that, and I danced a lot in that, and that was really fun. And then
Dancer
that
Deville.
Dancing Dill, that director of that Mamma Mia was the guy from 3D. And so
Oh,
there was when he was like, we're gonna do it
mhm.
in the fall. It's gonna happen. And I was like, holy heck, we're
Yeah.
doing it. And I was like so excited, but I was also so nervous because the last time I did it was before the pandemic, and during the pandemic I went through this, we went through this dark, depressive state where you're like, what am I going to do with my life? And so like finding and losing confidence in that too. Like I lost a lot of confidence in myself during the pandemic because I was just like, what am I going to do? Like, who am I? Like, what is this? Like, what is my life now?
We all had that who am I without theater? Yeah.
Dude, wild, right? Gosh, what a time, man. What a
What
crazy
a
time. But
time.
through that time, I did have some cool opportunities that did show up that were kind of like, I don't know, like my favorite. That time of my life. Well, we can go into that later. But there's a time of my life where I wish I could have just a little bit more of that. There's a time in my life where I wish I could have that one opportunity last a little longer. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so then I did Newsies, and going back and revisiting a role that you've played before and seeing that now after being like 22 years old, and like, or 23 years old, and last time you played it you were like 20. So like those 3 years, I mean, a lot has happened, like graduating from college, the pandemic, like, so revisiting the role, it kind of just like reinstilled my spark. And I'm so thankful for that production because it really, made me feel like myself again for the first time in like 4 years.
I know
And that
I
was crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, Jack is just so freeing, and is
It
my
is.
my love. My lifeblood is theater, but I felt more like myself in a role in Jack. And I love Jack
Well,
Kelly's.
oh, of course. And I just think that's so special. I was going to make you touch on that, but you did, like what it was like revisiting that role, 3 years later in COVID, and then, coming back to it. Like, how did your acting choices change? But I mean, it's so special. Like, not a lot of actors are given that privilege to come back and revisit a role that they've already played. So I just think that's so special that you got to do that. And I'm going to make you touch on your experience in Parade because I mean, that show has
For it.
such a special place in my heart. So you
Yeah.
did Yankee and Young Soldier, right?
Yeah. So like in the original, I'm not sure if it was like that, but I saw a version of it at in LA a long time ago when I was younger. And they kind of did it like that. It was a stripped down version where it was like, because the original Broadway show was like super like high stakes and like super just big. And
Yeah.
then there was this version of it that they brought to the Mark Taper Forum that I saw, and it was super stripped down, and was like, and people were playing like 3 different roles, and like it was this cool production of it. And so yeah, Frankie was the young soldier, and so like you could see and that had to do with the duality between like a boy at the time and like seeing how that changes over time. So I thought it was very cool watching, like, so you see the young soldier and then you see like Frankie, and then you're like, okay, so why are those two characters this, why are those two the same actor? Yeah. And so yeah, playing that part and being in that show, it was really impactful to me. And it's a huge part of my life because that's I'm also Jewish. And so my grandfather, who we grew up doing Hanukkah and Christmas, but my grandpa would always, he would be the one who would, you know, speak at Hanukkah and say all the what is it? All yeah, the verses and all that. He was the one who would really take control of all that. And so this was the last this is the last show that he saw me do, was Parade. And that's like huge, especially like thinking about him being a Jewish man from New York, growing up in Brooklyn.
I
And then
cried.
like, I know, right? Isn't that crazy? And
Yeah.
then like for him to see this and like totally understand it and get it. Um, it was really, really life changing. I remember I just remembered the first time when he saw it, he was crying. I remember that. But it was so that show is just so important. And we did a really interesting version. We There's a director, her name is Carrie Hayter. She is amazing. I mean, she is like, in my life, she is one of the best directors that I've worked with. Just the way that her mind works and her imagination is crazy. We did the entire show using like chairography. So like the chairs were like all the set pieces and everything. And it was just like a rake stage, and then like the background projections and stuff. But then like everything was built with chairs, like desks, and it was crazy. The whole court scene, like every this is an example of how interesting it was. Every, the court scene, how everyone is having their own,
Everyone has their testimonies.
story. Yeah, their testimonies. So every testimony was a different position of how we'd be sitting. So it's like everybody has their own, view on what went on,
Yeah.
and like which ones do we believe. And this is before, like, this Parade on Broadway was very much like he was a very good guy, and like he was very innocent, and like we knew off the bat that he was innocent. But like before that, I think it's before um they found that Leo was indeed innocent, there was like, I think, less, what's it called, research
Yeah.
to believe that he was like less innocent before. Like they found stuff that like made him innocent,
Yeah, they
but
only
before
figured it
that
out.
it was kind of like open-ended. And
Yeah.
so our show was kind of like that, with like, did he do it, did he not do it, we don't know, like we still don't know today. So like, what do you believe?
Yeah.
But like so we very much did that. And so we had a lot of um talkbacks after the shows with like the people in the community who came to see it. And that was very interesting to see people's views on just life, especially in the area that we did the show too. We did the show in an area that's predominantly white and more more conservative. So like seeing that stuff, like just hearing different sides of the coin, was very interesting too, and kind of was my first view and look at societal differences in just
Yeah.
community thoughts. And so yeah,
And
it's show is super, super cool.
you know
And
that
I
show.
loved it on Broadway, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And I'm so happy today got announced that it's going on tour. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
I had a feeling for so
Exciting.
long, like to get to connect with that whole cast and really with the kids that did the show. They truly became, my family and those big brothers and sisters that I always wished for, because I have a little brother and I mean I love him to death. But every girl wants their big sisters and their big brothers. So, it was so special to, get to see them tell this story. And as a young Jewish actor, it was really special and it changed my life, that show. So
Yeah,
being
so
able to,
good. What a
yeah,
killer
it
show.
was
What a fun
that show.
experience for you too. Like, man, that's so fun to like get to
Such
be
a
a part
journey.
of it.
It was that show and Evan Hansen. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Evan
Heck
Hansen,
yeah.
Evan Hansen is so good.
Yeah. Oh, that was so
So
special.
good.
So now we're getting into Jagged Little Dill,
Let's do
Jagged
it.
Little Pill.
Woo!
You're currently portraying the role of Nick Healy in the North American tour of Jagged Little Pill. So, can you share with us a little bit about your Jagged Little Pill journey leading up to this point? Because it's a
Yeah,
special one.
it is. So the first time that I saw Jagged Little Pill was in 2018 at ART in Boston when my brother Derek Klena was in Jagged Little Pill as Nick Healy. And from then on, I mean, the show was just so impactful, and seeing it in all of its iterations and kind of go through this whole transformative time and period, and then seeing it on Broadway and being a part of that. I actually turned 21 on the first preview of Jagged.
Oh,
So I remember there was a toast, like an opening night or like a opening preview toast.
yeah.
And I was just 21, so I hadn't had alcohol yet. That's for my mom. My
So
mom, I didn't have alcohol at that time, mom. Wink, wink to everyone else. But mom, I didn't have alcohol at that time until then. And so I waited to drink with Derek. So like everyone took their sips, and it was like everyone took their shot of champagne or whatever. And I held on to my glass of champagne until my brother walked out of the stage door,
oh,
and I drank champagne with Derek. And that was the
oh,
first, like my first real sip of alcohol. And yeah, that was such a fun time. That video is also on my Instagram somewhere. My mom films everything. That's
oh.
another thing about my childhood. There are pictures of literally everything, videos of literally everything. Um, yeah, there's a whole room in my house just dedicated to just pictures of us as children and like just everything.
And I
So,
will be seeing that sometime soon.
yes, my mom was very much hands-on in that way and really
Oh,
wanted
that's so special.
capture every moment.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, and then when the pandemic hit and then the show came back, they were looking for a quick replacement for Phoenix in the show. This was like right when the show came back. Um,
This was the off-Broadway run, yeah?
No, this is when it was on Broadway. When it came
Oh,
back from
cool.
the pandemic. So it opened before the pandemic, and then it was open for like a little bit, and then the shutdown happened. And then it was gone for a long time, and then it came back at the end of
Right,
2021.
right, right, right.
So when it came back at the end of 2021, they were looking for a quick replacement for Phoenix, one of the boy roles in the show. And so I auditioned for it. And
I didn't know this.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. I auditioned for it and I didn't get it, of course. I was like, long shot. There's no way they're gonna have me be on the same stage as my brother as a different part when we look like it's kind of similar.
Yeah,
I
I
was
know
like,
you guys look
no,
identical. I'm sorry.
there's just no way that's gonna happen. But I auditioned for it, didn't really hear anything. Then February of 2022 rolls around, and they're like, and then I got the audition for Nick for the national tour of Jagged. And I'm like flipping out. But
Yeah,
right
yeah.
before Jagged auditions, I also was in for Anastasia for the tour for Dimitri.
No way.
Yeah. And
What's
so
up with you and Derek being
all
the
right.
same?
But no, but that's what was so funny about this was because I went in like recently before that for Dimitri and made it all the way to final callbacks. And I was just too young. And honestly, like
Yeah.
I was too young. And so I then we got Jagged and I was like, oh, here we go again.
Oh,
And like we were just like, I don't know. It's this weird feeling of like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. But then like also in my head, every time I say a line, like I just hear Derek. And so
Derek.
like it'll just come out like that. And my brother helped me. I think he helped me. Yeah, I think he read with me. He read with me for the
Aw.
auditions. But then yeah, I auditioned for the show. And looking back at my tapes, I looked at them at like a year after I was doing the show. So I just looked at them in September, my original tapes. And I was like,
No,
oh,
I my God, I do that so many times. I watch myself tapes and I'm like, how did I book?
I'm like, how did that happen? I'm like, no way. And that's the thing that I'm talking about earlier with like life experience and just like
Yeah.
doing and, being a part of the industry and being around people and different people and just like understanding being a huge observer in life
Yeah.
and just yeah and I was like wow, like things have changed a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I auditioned for the show and the first auditions were tapes, and then about like 2 weeks later I got a call back for Nick, but then I also got a call back for Phoenix because they were like, based on your tapes that you sent in at 2021, we want to call you back in for Phoenix as well. So I was going in for Phoenix and Nick kind of like the whole time, and I got final callbacks for both. And yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I also had to do the dance call, which
Yeah.
was fun because it was like they didn't want to do, we were told in the audition that it was the reason why we were doing the dance call, because I was like, Derek didn't dance at all on that show. Like Nick doesn't dance. Like
Nick
I know
doesn't dance, but it's
I
not a
know
dance heavy show, but there is some dance.
I mean it is for the ensemble people, it is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
heavy
yeah,
dance.
yeah.
At
Yeah.
least um at least the national tour version of it is a little more dance heavy, because on Broadway they had these pillar things
Yeah.
that were pushed around, and those we don't have those on tour.
Yeah.
So like that left space to like for more dancing and stuff. And so they had all the Knicks audition, or all the Knicks and Phoenixes dance. um and I don't know, I don't know, I felt more like a Phoenix, but I was always put into like the Nick. Oh yeah, I'm such a Phoenix.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm a Phoenix more than a Nick for sure. It's yeah, I feel like I'm more of a Phoenix more than a Nick. But now I'm like, okay, I see the similarities and all. I see it all. But I don't know. There was the whole so then we had the dance call and the audition, and then final callbacks, and the night before final callbacks they said, work on all the Phoenix stuff but keep Nick in your back pocket. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that means that like I'm being looked at more for Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then I had a conversation with my brother about just like about the industry and like about directors, and like if they see it they'll know. So we have to figure out like what you're gonna wear for the audition, so you're kind of showing like a little bit of both.
Right.
And granted, they said, only like keep Nick in your back pocket and just focus on the Phoenix stuff. So I go into that final callback, and I Diane Paulus is sitting right there. I do one side of the Phoenix material, and then I do all the Nick material.
Oh,
And like, isn't that crazy though?
that's
Like he doesn't
hilarious.
know what's gonna happen. And like,
I would have panicked
oh
internally.
dude. But like, I mean, I don't know. And my brother was like, you know, if they see it, they'll know. And so like I kind of just like trusted that. And I was like, okay, like they want to see me as Nick. So now I'm just gonna bring my full,
Full
self to Nick. And then yeah, and then I did the Nick material. And yeah, and then I waited for a really, really long time. A really long time. Like I think I waited like a month or
Nick.
something, because I was also in for Dear Evan Hansen at the time.
No way.
And I was for Connor for Broadway replacement. And
Wait,
I
what year?
literally 2022. So when Gayton came in to play
Peyton
Jared,
and Sam and Noah. Yeah,
yeah.
nothing.
So I made it to final callbacks for Connor as well. And this is the same time, like Jagged and Dear Evan Hansen. And the Dear Evan Hansen one was strange, because I went into the room, and for the final callback, they had all this filming equipment, like they were
Yeah,
filming it
yeah.
all.
All the boys tell me that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just so strange. But then I was waiting a long time for Dear Evan Hansen to get back to me too, and they kept on like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then I got the offer for Jagged, which is also kind of a crazy story. I kind of want to tell you because it's kind of cute and kind
Oh,
of
I want to
fun.
know. Yes.
So in college, my best friend in college, one of my best friends, his name is Marlon, and he was in the BFA with me, but he never went to New York before. And so the first time he was in New York, I happened to be there for I think it was, I don't know why I was there, but I was there for some reason. And he was there, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, we have to go see a show." His first, no, I don't think it was his first Broadway show, but I was like, "When you're in New York for the first time, we're definitely seeing a show together. I'm gonna fly out there and see a show with you if I have to." I told him that in college. And so when
Yeah.
he's there, I'm like, "All right, we got to go see a show." So we go see Company together, the revival of Company.
Oh, the one that was at the Jacobs before parade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was like such a bucket list moment in that, just like the first time he's in New York, we're seeing a Broadway show together. And then at intermission, I get a text from my agent saying, call me when you can, with an exclamation point. And I'm like, oh my God, what? So
I
I
know.
called
I've had
right
those
there,
feelings
and
before.
I booked Jagged right there at intermission with my best friend Marlon, his first time being in New York. And I was like, all the stars are kind of aligned right now. Like, this is such an aligned moment.
That's so
Um,
beautiful. I love
and
that.
so, oh yeah, and so like I'll never forget that. And like,
Oh,
and he always brings it up too. He's like, I can't believe like I was there for that. Like, I was sitting right next to
special.
him when that happened, and that's just like crazy. And I was
Oh,
like, yeah, man. But yeah, so that was crazy. And then yeah, so all the Dear Evan Hansen stuff and all the Jagged stuff, and then yeah, and then I had to accept Jagged. I had to
of
keep going with Jagged,
course.
of course, because that.
I'll do the Evan Hansen material with you. It's okay.
Oh, of course, let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh,
Let's
but
do
that's so special. And I have to ask, how did you tell Derek that you booked? That must have been such a little special brotherly love moment.
I think I just called him. Honestly,
Oh, I love that.
I know it's like yeah, but I think I just called him and told him, and then
Oh,
I remember going to dinner with him that day, and he was like, I remember him saying to me, he's like, now you're in the big leagues. He said, now you're in the big leagues. And
you are in the
I was like, wow, yeah. I like, because for me personally, like that was such a huge milestone for me, like booking that,
course. Yeah.
because I personally, being, seeing my brother go through what he went through, I always longed for something like that. And that's been like what I've longed for since a young age. And so like now being in a place where like my work spoke for itself, and like my work is now like propelling me into that spot, um, it was very, rewarding for me, and just like really, um, made me feel like what I do is important. And I really hold on to Jagged because of that. And even like now, like going through certain things and being in Jagged for a year and a half now, and still doing the same role. And I learn more things about acting every single day just because of this. And so it's just like it's so rewarding, and so and I've learned so much.
You're killing the
Yeah,
game. You're perfection in this role. Perfection.
thank you.
And I
Thank
mean, I was reading an interview that you did because I know you did the interviews for Mervish, and then I saw you did another one where you said that you said the same line the same way that Derek did, and I just thought that that was hilarious because I do that. I do that too. Like I'm working on picture show for a project, and like Erin Rose Doyle, who played Mary Fagan, has become like a big sister to me. I call her my big sister, and I was doing picture show and we were singing it together when I was in New York, and I was like, "I sound like you. This is crazy."
Well, no, that's, I mean, well, that particular, there was a line that, because Heidi Blickenstaff was in the tour with me, but she also did it with Derek. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting for her to kind of see how we both work in the space. And just like the differences between siblings, and how, like, that's the thing for me is like, I've never been, since a young kid, like I've never been in the same, I've never worked on the same thing that my brother has worked on. So like I don't know how he works in the space. Like I don't know what his process is. I don't know like how he does things. And so when I, was working with Heidi, and Heidi was like talking to me about our differences and stuff, it was like so like
It's
weird for me
twin
to hear.
telepathy.
Yeah, it was weird. But also the line that, okay, so the line is, it's this the line is social movements and advocacy committee. Frankie just started it. That's the whole line.
Yeah.
And for some reason, me and Derek or I would always line flub advocacy. I would always mess that up. And then Heidi pulls me aside and says, that's so funny because Derek always messed up that line too. And she's like, when you messed up, she was like, Dillon, when you messed up that line, like that was so funny to me because Derek messed
Oh,
up all the time. And it was just like a common thing between siblings. And that's the funny thing is like doing this part, like, and you know, and like I try to stay, I try to pay homage to like what he has done and stuff, but it's been very great to like take apart and kind of do your own thing with it. And like especially at this level too, like and the part that it is and the show that it is, kind of seeing it in all of its iterations and putting that into perspective as well. It was so cool. And working with Heidi Blick and staff, I mean, that's the thing about tour, is like you're moving so constantly that you never really have time to process what you're
That's
doing
it.
or what you're going through. And so like working with Diane Paulus, I didn't even like think about that until like months down the line, where I was like, oh my God, like I got to work with Diane Paulus. What the
Yeah.
heck? Like that's crazy. Like you just you don't really like see or think about those things when they're happening. And that's another thing about tour that I've learned about, is staying very present and like not worrying about the future, not worrying about what goes on next, but just like hanging on to what's in front of you. And especially with this profession and like what we get sucked into, it's very hard to, you know, stay present, because you're always like looking for the next thing, or you're always like trying to, you know, propel yourself. But at the same time, like it's really important, because you only have one life and you only live once, and like you have to, you know, you have to savor the little nuances that are happening presently, like the little things. And in my head, it's the little things. The little things matter a lot,
Yeah.
um as well as the big things, but like the little things that make a place. Like I can't focus on what's happening 2 weeks right now in that place, because I'm gonna miss out on what I have right now.
I
And like,
always said worry and focus on the show that you're doing now.
of course, just anything though. I feel like that goes for everything. The more
Everything.
present you are, the more, you know, like the more grounded you are. I feel like being present is so important in just life.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, another fun thing about me and Derek playing Nick is that and I'm sad, I'm not wearing him anymore, but for the costume, what are they called? I always forget this word. It's like when you're going in to try on costumes, but they're like, oh, fittings. There you go.
Fittings. Yeah, yeah. I was like, are those your
I always forget fittings. I always forget that
yeah,
word.
your fittings. Yeah, yeah.
Like when I was going into the fittings for Nick and stuff, they had me try on like a lot of Derek's stuff just to see if they fit me. And then one item they had me try on was his shoes, and they fit me like a glove. And so I was like, oh, so these are the shoes like I'm wearing. And they're like, oh, Dylan, we're getting you your own shoes. And I was like, why? I was like, I'll just wear these. and they're like,
Do
and
you
they're like,
still wear them
really?
to this day?
They actually broke for after 5 years of wearing the shoes of just
Okay.
being worn.
I'll give him 5 years.
Uh,
I'm a really bad shoe destroyer, fun fact. So I think I really think those 5 years, and I mean the things in that show. I mean, I'm surprised they lasted 5 years. That's pretty awesome.
so
Those
yeah,
gotta
so we
those
got to
gotta
wear the
be,
same
yeah.
shoes, and I
Those
got
gotta
to.
be in like the Museum of Broadway or something.
Heck yeah, I have them. That we're gonna sign them and have them in our family family memorabilia room
Oh, you have to.
with
You
all
have
of our kid trophies and our swimming trophies and tennis trophies.
But that's the coolest thing. Like, not to be mean to every average family, but like, you walk in, these are my daughter's, dance competition and my son's hockey. Yeah, so my sons wore these on Broadway and national tours of Jagged Little Pill. Welcome to the
It's kind of
Klena life.
crazy. I'm very thankful that they let me do that though, because it always kind of like kept that part. It always kind of like kept me present, just knowing that I was wearing those, and like just knowing the show and where it has been, and like just it always kind of kept me grateful for it. And every time I would look at them, I'd be like, yeah, I'm like, these are them, these are these shoes. But yeah, I'm not wearing them anymore. But that's just a cute little thing. And like some of the props that we have. Oh, there's another sweet thing. I guess so. There's a part in the show where Nick comes out and he has a notepad and he's writing in this notepad. Well, we used most of the props from Broadway. So the notepad that I was using for a long time was Derek's actual notepad. And so like he wrote things in the notepad, like specific things in the notepad. And
The
I
boys
really
did that on
like,
tour during Sincerely Me too. They wrote every night on the
no
computer.
way. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. That's such a cool thing to have, just like because you never know. And Derek used that as like an actual diary. Like I was a part of this show called Starry, and I did a 54 Below concert of it. And it was my first thing that I did in New York. And it was in 2020. It was right before the shutdown. But it was the first thing that I did in New York. And I'm reading his thing, like, I'm like, oh, looking. And then on one page I flip and it says, New York debut, baby, Dillon at 54 Below. And so like that's crazy to me because he like wrote about his life at the time, but also wrote like that kind of stuff. And so I remember it was during Tech Week when I saw that, and I called my brother and I just started reading it to him. I just started reading his notebook to him, and I didn't even like give him any context or anything.
Context.
I just started reading it to him to see if he would get it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember that." And he's
Oh,
talking about all these things, and there's a lot of personal stuff in there, but
yeah.
there's also a lot of good stuff. And yeah, that's another cute little thing. It just the
Oh,
whole experience, it really connected us as brothers. But also, yeah, but also just in, that this, I know it's really cool that that rarely happens. So like it's so cool
oh,
that
yeah.
like, we both share a little piece of a character and like in our own ways too. And like we both have our own backgrounds for the character. And that's, I mean, that's so cool, especially like thinking about it. Like he is 7 years older than me. So it's like a whole, I mean, kind of a whole different generation in a way. And so like seeing the similarities and also seeing the differences in our characters is very interesting. And also being brothers on top of that is wild. And so
It is wild.
we've had cool conversations about it since. But yeah, that was always such a cool experience to hold on to. And he just saw it. Like he just saw the
Yeah,
show.
I saw his post.
Yeah, in Minneapolis. And that was, I mean, I get so nervous when I perform, like especially when it comes to singing. I love singing, but I'm just, for some reason I still get nervous when I sing, like all the time. I
Oh,
don't think we're gonna go.
yeah, I'm actor first, so singing
Oh,
is,
actor first here too. I swear, I love
yeah,
acting.
singing is
But
a little iffy for me.
I just
Like,
don't.
come on,
I
your voice is insane. You sing the house down.
but I don't like it.
Oh,
I do like singing. I do love singing. Don't get me
I know
wrong.
what you mean. I know what you
It's
mean. I
it's
feel
the
the same.
part it's the part of the big three that I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm the most
It's a
protective of.
Yeah, it's a vocally heavy show for you. I'll give it, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, the songs that Nick sings aren't super. He doesn't sing a lot, but there are very I'm switching between parts of my voice all the time. Like Perfect is such a mellow song until it isn't, and then going back to being mellow, and like the control over that is
Yep.
difficult.
Oh,
And Wake Up too. Wake Up is, I still get nervous about Wake Up. I'm always nervous about Wake Up and Perfect. Perfect is its own thing because there's not really, in the show there's not much like it. Like it's the only song that like there's no background singing for that song. It's the only song in the show that's not like that, or that has that aspect to it. So it's, for me, like extra nerve-wracking because I'm the only person on stage and like everyone's watching you.
yeah.
It's there's just a lot. There's a lot to it. And but yeah, I've always been so nervous for that. So when he saw the show, I was like, after he saw the show, I was like, thank God I am done. Okay, wait a second. My computer is literally about to die.
Oh, no worries. But no,
I,
that's so special that, you get to have that experience and, to get to share that with your brother. Because I always say the most special thing, and, I kind of relate it back to Evan Hansen, is like so many people have played the role of Evan, and it's just so incredibly special to see how everyone does it so differently, and to see how, you guys are brothers, but yet you come so differently to the role. It's just so incredibly special to see how you do that. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, this whole experience and being in Jagged and being a part of, that world has been such a life-changing event for me, and really, helped me grow and develop. And yeah, because it's just like, it's not just the show, but it's everything about this experience that has been like such a life-changing, altering experience for me.
100%. So this is kind of more of like an actor kind of question that I had for you. So there are some heavy themes in Jagged Little Pill. So when you were first given the script for this incredible piece of theater, how did you approach it? And then this is the actor question. Did you approach the script differently due to it being a jukebox musical?
Well, in college, I took not a script writing class, but a script
Analysis.
Alice's class, yes. And so that really helped me with like, audition work and working with sides and reading scripts and really just understanding the character in a different way. And so I kind of did the same thing with Jagged. When I, got the script, I kind of didn't look at it as a musical, kind of looked at it as like a play.
Yeah.
Uh, and and then because like I use the songs as like internal monologues for people. So like that's just more that's just more of the psychological part of the character is the songs. And so like I really tried to delve in to see like what Nick what makes Nick tick just from the script and not from the music. Because of course you could see it in like perfect why he's singing that, like you understand. But at the same time, it's like there are so many pieces to Nick that are that he doesn't even know exist, and that's the other part of it is also being like a teenager, and or understanding a teenager's mindset too is different and kind of taking the circumstances of the story and kind of connecting them to my life, and parts of my life. I feel like that's all that it is like good pieces of
That
theater is
connection.
just connection. Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean,
that can just then make it or break it.
that experience that I have where, like, a director hands me a script and is like, "We wanna see you for this role," and, like, I'll look through it and be like, "I'm not acting here, like, this role is me," and I just think it's the most incredible, like, some roles will feel that way more than others, but, when you get to
Yeah.
bring yourself into a role and kinda take those memories and, like you said, kinda look at your past and do that, I just think that it's so special.
Oh yeah. And I mean, at first I didn't really like see similarities in Nick with me personally, because I was just like, I don't know. I mean, Nick is very much like my brother. Like I remember his upbringing a lot, and that's kind of Nick's upbringing, and just understanding that. But then like I connected to parts. Yeah, I connected it with it so much further down the line. And that helped me a lot during the show. Like even like halfway through the first year, I was still figuring things out about the character and still discovering things. And that's what I love about good theater. And like the script is so good and our show is so like there's this dark humor to it,
Yeah.
and it's dark and it's deep, but it's also humorous and fun. And I mean, we we talk about Jagged as being like this dark show, but it is really funny,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of comedy in it. um and so yeah, I mean because it's a jukebox musical, I mean our show, it doesn't feel like it in a way. Our
Yeah.
show, I feel like, just because
I felt that way too.
the songs are put in it such a way that it doesn't really sound like a jukebox musical, and it doesn't really like it doesn't look like it. But I mean, it didn't really affect me so much it being a jukebox musical. But at the same time, our musical director was very we didn't really have any vocal we couldn't do our own thing with the music. The musical director was very strict about us being to how Alanis sings it, not really going off of how or like not doing our own thing with it. They're
Yeah,
very particular about that, about sticking to the way it's done and singing it the way it should be.
yeah, and that takes me,
I
like,
totally appreciate that.
yeah,
Appreciate that because that's like the last thing I want is to like just add a riff somewhere or a run and not be able to back it up with just
right,
like why I'm
meaning,
doing.
exactly.
And so, yeah, and so I mean, that was like the that was in musically. I mean, even when auditioning for the show, they sent out a piece of paper that was or casting sent out a paper of like how they want the vocals to be and like
Mhm.
don't don't sing this way.
Yeah.
Sing it like the way it is in the book. And I love how they've stayed pretty adamant about that throughout the entire time, which is pretty good.
Yeah, because
Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say, because for those who don't know, Jagged Little Pill is a jukebox musical from the music of Alanis Morisette. Because 'cause you've gotten to meet Alanis and, kind of work with her on your material for the show. I was gonna say, what was that kinda like for you, and did that help shape your interpretation of Nick?
Yeah, so we've met Alanis 3 times. She was in LA at our opening. And then we actually got to have like a work session with her in San Francisco when we went there. That was our second stop on tour, and it was a 4 week sit down. And in the middle of that 4 weeks, she came in and like spent a day with us, and like she was like, we can talk about like anything you guys want. You can talk about my music, talk about anything. And so I asked her a question about I was really um I was really trying to figure out what there's a section in Perfect, the whole bridge section, where it's like I think of it as more of like an epiphany, like he's starting to realize all these things and the train is moving faster and faster and faster. But I wanted to know like why she goes from such a calm sound to an immediate spike in like 0.2 seconds, but they're kind of saying the same things. I just wanted to know what was the importance of that. And she talked to me about that, and how, you know, she told me things about her life and what contributed to the song. And then I remember her saying something, and it's something that's actually, I think, on my Instagram. It's like one of my bio quotes, but it's the insensitive will inherit the earth. And she said that to us, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember like for me, for most of my life, vulnerability has been somewhat easy for me. To be vulnerable, I thought was something that was easy for people. And because I was so vulnerable, I was very sensitive
Yeah.
um growing up, and still am. But you know, that hearing her say that and how down to earth she is, and so welcoming of all spirits, I felt like I really connected with that. And so yeah, sensitive will inherit the earth. If you're sensitive out there, it's okay. It's
So let's
okay.
turn the earth.
Fine, you know, that's and so like I took that, and I really I
Right?
ran with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
she is such a cool individual, and just her expertise and her poise and how she holds herself is so remarkable. And she's just an amazing, unique human being. And we got to meet her parents too in Ottawa. They came to see the show, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, these are this is what I picture Alanis's upbringing being like. Like the mom came with like this cool wisdom rock and gave us like a wisdom rock that like had this list of like certain feelings you have on certain days. It was very spiritual, like very spiritual, down to earth people. And
Oh,
like when you're surrounded by that, I mean, like Alanis is just such a like, it's so cool. Like you can totally see like her upbringing being like that. And so yeah, it being a part of this show and meeting her and meeting Diablo Cody, the book writer, and you know, seeing or meeting Tom Kitt. Like Tom Kitt's so cool. And I my brother has known Tom Kitt for years, but I never really got to meet him and like talk to him. And so that was also cool, is to kind of see your idols. Like Tom
yeah.
Kitt's done a lot of stuff, and just kind of seeing
Yeah,
that, I don't know, just I'm very humbled to have met all these people, and it's very, very cool. And
that's
yeah,
so
so grateful for it. But yeah, Alanis is such a cool person, and the sensitive will inherit the earth. I will always hold on to that for
yeah.
sure.
So alongside from being an incredibly talented actor and singer, you are a gifted songwriter. So you recently released a song called Unsaid. I will stand by that forever. It's so good. It's so
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
So what's your process like when creating a song, and what inspires you when writing? Because you wrote that when you were on the road, right?
Yeah, I did. I wrote it in a hotel room in Providence, Rhode Island, and it was a rainy day outside. I remember this so vividly. It was raining outside, and I was like, and I just got out of a relationship, so that was also hard. And that's another thing too, when you're on the road, and you know, you have no and something like that happens to you, like it's really hard, because you're isolated a lot by yourself, and you're alone. You're not alone, but you're alone, because you're like, you know what I mean, you're just
Oh, yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
And so like going through a breakup on the road is really interesting. And so I kind of wrote this song in December of last year. December, yeah, I would say December or January, December. I don't remember. It was either or. But I wrote the song like late last year, and and then I didn't really revisit it until probably May or June. And I was like, I'm going to finish this because I'm the type of person, I have a lot of unfinished music and stuff because I'm the type of person that's like, um, not really ready to end things or finish things. And so like I got to that point where I was like, I have to finish this. I'm going to finish this. And the last song that I came out with was in 2020 and it's 2023. And I'm in a different part of my life now where I think I can just, finish it and release it. And so I did. And the process, I really don't have a process. Like, I mean, like I will just get inspiration when it hits. I try to write some days and no inspiration hits at all. And it's
It's
like,
when it hits. Yeah, definitely.
it's just when you feel it, you got to run with it. And that's what I feel at. And I trust my intuition so much to know, like, when I feel like something is good and I want to keep making it, I know that I have to set my mind to it. And so that's kind of like what I did with Unsaid. And I just remember playing it over and over in my head and just connecting dots. And I love it because I feel like it's my version of a puzzle. And
No.
I feel like music is kind of like a puzzle
Yeah.
of just how like the music, I want it to be an experience. I don't really want it to, I want music to, fill a room and fill a brain with thoughts. And, when you're listening to music, I want it to surround you in something and make it an experience. And music is so important to me. I mean, like, it's just, gets you through everything. And so I wanted to bring that to music. And and I listen to a lot of original, I feel like they're very unique artists just in their own right in what they do. And so that's been a lot of my inspiration, is just trying to you know develop a sound that encompasses all that while still being truthful and being honest. And I feel like I'm my deepest self in this song is pretty dark. I mean, I don't even think like I didn't even process how deep it really was, like, just from being who I am. And so the lyrics before, there were different lyrics in the song before that were pretty dark and deep, and I had to change them.
A lot of songwriters do say that in interviews, and you always kind of wonder what that initial like thought was, and how it gets changed.
Oh, it's yeah, but it's always been, I love making music. And I picked up the guitar. I usually play the piano and figure it out through that, but then I picked up the guitar while I was on tour, and I've been learning how to play everything and stuff. So that's also been a learning curve, and producing your own music is its own kit and caboodle. Like, in
Yeah.
2020, I wrote a song called Red. I don't know if you know Red. It's on there,
I think I
but
might
it's
have heard it.
okay. It's on Spotify with my
Okay.
stuff, but
Unsaid's in my playlist, but okay, I'll have to listen to
Red
that.
is about being left on red. And so we all
Oh,
know that
we
feeling.
all know that feeling.
And so I wrote a song about it. And that was in 2020. And that was when I was just learning how to use um, like software programs like GarageBand. And then I think I did it on Logic. But I would always, like, when I was younger, in middle school, I used to make beats a lot with GarageBand just for like as a
Awesome.
fun hobby.
That's
And
so
I
fun.
play with things. And um I had a good ear as a child, so I liked putting things together, and like the puzzle. I love
Yeah,
puzzles and stuff. I could never do a Rubik's Cube, but for some reason I could put together a song, and
yeah.
that was great.
No,
um
Rubik's cubes just don't work.
they don't work.
I can't do them.
I mean, we have
I,
someone on tour right now who's doing that, and like I've been watching it and I've been like getting excited because I want to start learning how to
I've
do it.
solved one side once, and that was it.
But dude, that's like half the battle right there.
But like, but that was like, there's like formulas on how to do it.
I know.
I YouTubed it because I was like, I need to learn.
It's difficult. It's something that I feel like a specific person can get. I personally have not been able to do it. So,
Yeah, no, I YouTube it. That's the answer to
wait, when's
everything.
your birthday? When's your birthday?
April 27th.
Okay, so you're
Taurus.
Aquarius?
Taurus.
Oh my gosh, my Taurus is in, or my moon is Taurus.
Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Go Taurus. I'm a
Yeah.
Scorpio.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
We love Scorpios, but they have a bad rap for some reason. It's okay.
I don't know what. This is a super special question because it's our final one, and I ask every guest this question, but I tweaked it a little for you because it's a special one. So, looking back on everything you've achieved in this industry, what advice would you give to 3-year-old Dylan who found a passion for theater?
I I know this is so cliche, but I would say keep going and don't let other negative energy affect who you really are. Because I feel like when you're young and you're growing up, there is so much influence,
Yeah.
and there's so many things that you can hang on to and hold on to. And there are going to be certain situations and certain paths that you go down that will take you down a road that you shouldn't have gone on. And so I feel like if, you stay true to who you are and stay true to yourself and really hone in on that, you can accomplish anything. And I've really learned that about myself in my 20s mostly is, being authentically who I am and not needing to be anything else other than that. And that's enough. And being your true authentic self is enough. And if there are people that don't accept you for who you are, then they're not meant to be in your life. I think that too. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that the right people come along when they're supposed to, and the right people stay. And I think I mean, stay true to who you are because that's what makes you you. I mean, your true originality comes from, who you are. And the things that make you tick and the things that make you who you are is what will propel you into the next space. So
You gotta
yeah,
be yourself because everyone else is already taken.
be yourself because everyone else is already taken. Of
Yeah,
course, that's a huge thing. I feel like that's like a big thing that, like, in our industry people stray away from, is that, like, everyone is so unique and so original. There's only one of you. Why not embrace that? Like, that's such a huge thing, that, like,
exactly.
only one of you. So make the most of it and stay present and live your life to the fullest. Have fun.
Always.
There's so many things I could tell 3-year-old little Dylan, but you know what? 3-year-old little Dylan probably wouldn't remember any of them.
Oh, thank you so much, Dylan, for joining me on the Inspiration Show. You're truly one of my biggest inspirations. You've impacted my life in such a special way, and I'm so grateful for all you do. It was an honor to get to have you here. Thank you for inspiring me.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. Yay.